Okay, part two. Let's go. I mean, I should say we don't have to be. It doesn't have to be 50 minutes. I mean, I've given it 50 minutes because
Yeah, I don't mind.
that's the length of a session. I mean, we could get into something else if you want to, or I mean, it's you know, yeah. I offer 50 minutes, so it's there. It's yours if you want it. It's up to you.
Yeah. Well, I can talk about work as well. I think because I was at work as well this week. So,
Okay, if you want.
yeah, it was fine. I think I'm not enjoying working with one of my colleagues at the minute,
Right.
and that's been interesting because I've never not got on with people at work. Like this is my first experience of not like whether or not it's not that I'm not best friends with everyone I've ever worked with,
No.
and I don't expect to be. But I've always got on with people. Like I've never had an issue with anyone or had anyone have an issue with me, and I've never struggled to do work with like my team.
Yeah.
And I'm just not getting on with the person that literally sits behind me, and we have to work together all the time, and really struggling to like go past it. I find her just super passive aggressive.
Yeah.
And like we sit in quite a small office.
Yeah.
And if I was to send an email to a colleague that is sitting in the office, I would just say like, heads up, I'm just like replying to this email for you, or I'm just giving you I'm just replying to this, or I'm just emailing you this about this, but she'll just send me an essay and not even acknowledge that I'm in the office or say hello. I just don't understand the negativity there.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds quite uncomfortable for you.
It's really uncomfortable, yeah.
It sounds kind of uncomfortable on two levels. Like the relationship itself with her it sounds quite an uncomfortable thing to just happen to anyone, but I don't know, like the way you were saying earlier, it's like I'm someone who gets on with everyone. So like, it's almost like a challenge to how you see yourself as well.
Yeah. It's really affronting because we've had like a couple of meetings with managers about it.
And I guess as part of this, like in the theory in the background, you can consider like conditions of worth. You can consider self-concept, lots of other concepts really. But all I did there though was observe the discomfort of the immediate situation, but also the discomfort on a deeper level of the challenge to her self-concept, the challenge to she doesn't like to see herself like that, and that's other people might not be bothered, but other people might just kind of bat away conflict of that kind. But yeah, for Sass in this moment, that's really kind of got under her skin quite a bit, and yeah, that's me just gently observing that, not just the discomfort in the moment, but as she said, the affront to how she sees herself.
And again, and I think that's another layer to this it not being resolved, because they're not solving it as best as I think they could. Right. But I know that she said that she finds me really difficult to work with, and she thinks that I'm like quite rude and standoffish. And when I was told that, I was really upset because I don't see myself in that light at all.
Right, yeah.
And I can't imagine anyone saying that about me. Like I was really upset that someone had.
Yeah.
And so like trying to find the root of like why she thinks that, and I don't know. I mean, like
in the last video, in the first half, I talked about being able to relate to what she said about. I think she talked about as you get older and you get a little bit of freedom, you kind of go off and do your own thing. But then as you get older still, you kind of want to kind of come back and start thinking about spending more time with your family. And I didn't see a problem with being quite open about. Yeah, I relate to that. I can definitely relate to that, because that doesn't feel particularly personal. It does feel like a general trajectory that people go on. So I didn't feel any issue with disclosing that I can relate to that. In this case, I can relate to what she's saying. I'm very much the same. I don't like. It's not that I don't like conflict. I don't shy away from conflict if it needs to happen. But I really don't like it. I'm very much the same. I quite like getting on with everyone, and like managing drama or managing people, like relational issues as best I can. And it really does sit with me if if I was in that situation, I think I'd respond in a similar way. I chose not to disclose that though, because that is, I think, a little bit too personal. If the client then was to ask me, "Oh right, what did you go through?" It'd be then hard maybe to close that door. If I was to give that little bit of self-disclosure, it kind of can be harder then to boundary it off after I've opened it up a little bit. So even though I was relating quite a bit to what she was talking about, and I think I'm inclined in a similar way for these kinds of things to bother me quite a bit, perhaps more than it does some other people. That's not something I chose to share because that felt too personal. It felt like, there's a risk of her asking me specific questions about that. Maybe not her in general, because she's an actor and she's role playing, and she probably wouldn't do that. But with clients, that would certainly be the case. Just wanted to mention that. Right. Well, really uncomfortable to hear like feedback that someone's experiencing you that way, or they might have, whether they have, you're getting feedback that someone's experienced you that way, and that's such a challenge to you and how you see yourself that it sounds really uncomfortable for you.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think like some solace I take is that actually quite a lot of other people in the office and just generally at work have had like bad experiences with this person who I have as well. Yeah. So it's I was at first I was like, is it a me problem? Like, am I the problem? And so I'm glad that like I'm not, and I don't think I am. And actually, I think it's the way that she's approaching work and this working relationship.
Sounds
but
like,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, it sounds almost like validating to hear that it's a pattern for her.
Definitely, yeah. Because I don't want to think that I am like causing anyone any stress or anything, but actually the way that she approaches things at work, the way that she talks to people and approaches kind of like new scenarios. She's relatively new in the organisation, and most people have been there for at least 2 or 3 years. So like her approach is, rather than learning kind of the way of the organisation and finding ways to like work with each other, it's like she wants everyone to work around her. That's
it's interesting how I think in my head this has been approached in terms of Sassa's discomfort, I guess, about not being liked or not getting on with people. It'd be curious to ask, and an option could have been to ask how it feels about, or how she feels about this other person, and if there's dislike there, how that feels. Like, there might be some discomfort about the idea of not liking someone. What am I saying? Like, there could be conditions of worth or discomfort around not being liked, but also the idea of not liking other people. It could be a thing that I need to be liked, or it could be I need to like everyone. And flipping it around and asking, well, how do you feel about her, and just checking out those feelings would have been quite an interesting thing to do, maybe. Again, not that there's anything wrong with how things did develop, I don't think necessarily, but it's interesting just to look back and consider other options that were available that I didn't see at the time.
That's where a lot of, I think, these issues lie, and actually I don't like her attitude or the way that she speaks to people.
No.
So
it's just, it makes her attitude and how she speaks to people. That could have been me asking about that could have been a way into that.
My job really difficult because we have to work really closely together.
Right, yeah.
And he does a lot of like the digital marketing side of things, and then I'm doing a lot of like kind of the exhibition side of things. So the way in which we have to work really closely together. She's just making it really hard.
It sounds really uncomfortable, like because it sounds like you really want to make an effort, just generally interacting with people, to get on with people, and to be someone who isn't standoffish and is friendly and so on. And it sounds, I don't know, it sounds like there's the discomfort from the interaction itself, but it sounds like more than that. It sounds like this is, I don't know, it's really stings for you.
Yeah, I think also like I'm a people person. Like I like being in the office, and I like chatting, like flexible working is great because it means I get more done at home because I can just like focus on work. But actually, a big thing about going into the office is that you can chat to everyone and speak to people.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to go in knowing that she's there.
Yeah, no, I get that.
When we are there, the like energy
you might have
in the room
noticed that
is
I
not
scratched
the same.
my head at the exact same time that recorded version of me scratched my head. I don't know if that was a coincidence or if, I don't know, some kind of response to what's being said. I don't know. It's interesting anyway. It's a good job I'm not a Freudian therapist.
Like she doesn't let us start conversations, and if I do start it's quite a close like office of 5 people in this small space.
Yeah.
Usually I'll just swivel around and just be like, oh, saw this film at the weekend, or I did this, and then we'll all kind of chip in and have a conversation. But she would never swivel around. So then it makes me feel like I can't go and talk. I can't do that because it's like awkward because she's not going to get involved. Yeah. And then it feels like I'm kind of like being a nuisance and distracting people.
Yeah. It's not just a relationship with her. It's almost kind of had an impact on how you relate to everyone because she's there. She's part of the equation. It's hard for you to just kind of be how you would be normally. Yeah,
definitely. And it's just, like I don't even small things like asking if anyone wants to have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Like I don't even want to ask the group because she never responds. So I don't want it to be like I'm making everyone tea apart from her.
Right.
But I don't know. And she's just she's not very nice and
and
it's just interesting. Like we're working on a couple of projects which like came in on, and I just think her tact on things was like she instantly was like, oh, I don't like the name of it, I don't like the logo of it, and actually like I did a lot of that work before she came in and started working on it. So she's kind of like tearing down ideas, and I don't know if she knows.
That's what I was wondering. If it sounds like you don't know if it's just an honest criticism or if maybe she's doing it like I don't know if this is where I was going. You might have been wondering if she's doing it because she knows it's you that did it.
That's exactly why. And I don't know, like maybe I'm reading too much into it, but we both paid the same. And she's like older than me. She's been in the industry for a long time. So part of me thinks that maybe like she's potentially just annoyed because I'm much younger. Like sometimes it's interesting because I do in the like arts sector that I'm in, I do feel a bit like impostery sometimes because at the progression in which like my career has gone, quite a lot of people don't get to the level that I'm at for another like maybe 10 years, and I don't think that's I wouldn't say that's because I'm incredibly impressive, like I'm not tooting my own horn, but I would say that's probably because the sector itself isn't very great at like developing people, and so I think you have to like push.
Impostery sounds like that's a word I could have asked about, and we could have focused on that and asked what that means, because it feels as though there's a lot contained within that word. Imposter syndrome is quite a common. I think people know what that means. The feeling of being an imposter, and you don't really deserve, or you're not good enough to be there. That kind of feeling. I won't want to assume that's exactly what she means, but the word impostery is very loaded, and I didn't pick up on that the first time, but that would have been something possibly quite helpful to ask about, for her to talk more about, because it, don't know, sounds to me as though there could be quite a bit within those feelings that suggests.
And also I think COVID has changed that as well. But I don't know.
But there's some. I guess you're just trying to figure out why this might be, but like maybe being quite young on average for where you're at might be something to do with it.
I think so.
I go back to what this other person, what might explain this other person's behaviour, but there were the words like impostery were things that I could have picked up on instead, and I don't remember noticing that previously, and it certainly wasn't on my radar, and I missed that. It's funny that I can, it's quite clear to me this time.
it's definitely hard to know. Yeah. Because usually, like, I connect with colleagues because their children are doing their children have gone to uni, and I was at uni recently, and like, so that's the only way that we can really have conversations. But she's kind of like in this gap where she doesn't have kids, but she's still like 10 years older than me, so she doesn't have like anything to connect with me on that sort of level. Just finding it really tricky.
Yeah, it does sound it. Yeah, it sounds really difficult. It sounds like you kind of pride yourself on being able to just kind of, really get on with everyone and be someone that people can bounce off of and enjoy interacting with. And this is a real challenge to that for whatever reason. It's not happening with this one person, and that's really uncomfortable for you. But not just uncomfortable with the person, it's just, I don't know, I want to say almost like poison the whole vibe, really, for you.
It has. And I think, like, the way my manager tried to help smooth it over was suggesting that I come into the office more, because when I go into the office I'm quite practical. I do a lot of like delivery, so I won't be put all at my desk all the time. And her suggestion was that I go into the office so that we can like bond and like connect and chat. And like, I don't want to, like, I don't want that. I don't, because I feel uncomfortable. And I don't know, I wasn't really taken by the way in which she tried to solve the situation. Because it felt like actually we needed more involvement from her.
Like you I suppose you'd probably be more inclined to go in more often if you felt comfortable in the office, and you wanted to feel more comfortable in the office, and it sounded like they were just telling you to increase your time in the office without dealing with the issue itself.
And it's difficult because I commute into work, whereas the person that I'm having issues with lives in the village that my work is at. So they literally go into the office 5 days a week and are always there. So I can't even like go in and not see them. They're there.
They will definitely be there if you go in.
So I'm not really sure how I want it moved forward. I mean, a part of me is like, just get on with it. Like, work is work, and you don't need to chat to them. You can just get on, send them the things that you need to send them. And then another part of me is like, actually, like, it's affecting the way in which I work. Work's like it's such a big part of your life. And people like, it's like, oh, work is work. But actually, you spend 9 to 5 days a week doing it. So if I'm not enjoying it or having a good time, then I think I need the issue to be solved.
You've tried kind of putting it to one side and you think, well, it's a job, I'll just do it. But I don't know, when reflecting on it, it sounds like, I know it really does bother you. You spend a lot of time at work. It is a serious thing.
And like, for example, like one of my other colleagues in the office was like having a tough time writing this blog thing, and they were like over the word limit by about 200 words, and they just like generally asked the office like, oh, what do you think? Do you think it'd be fine to like hand this in? And everyone was like, and I said, like, I think it's fine. Like, to be honest, when I was at university, I would hand in essays way over the word limit and just write the word count was what it was anyway, and no one ever checked. So I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, I misunderstood what she said there. I thought she was saying, or I think I'd assumed that she was going to say that she lied and put the word count lower than it actually was, but that isn't what she was saying. That's interesting. Just interesting that I'd misunderstood. As much as I'd tried to listen, I think I jumped ahead and assumed what she was going to be saying.
Okay. On with was like, well, if Sassy thinks that's a good decision, then go with that. It's just weird offhand comments like that in front of people. Like, I don't know, I never really like.
Quite pointed.
I didn't get it.
It's quite pointed and quite clearly. Quite catty towards you, but I don't know, it sounds like a difficult thing to just kind of put the brakes on and just start to unpack that in the middle of the office. It sounds like a tricky thing to be able to do.
And then it's just awkward. Like, everyone was like, what do we say to that? Like, it's not great.
It sounds really hard for you. I mean, the look on your face when you were mentioning it sounds like really pained. Like, it was quite a difficult thing.
And it just makes it like, right, and then what do we do? We've got another 4 hours in this office now. Like, am I supposed to just carry on?
Yeah, it's not like a social event where you can just walk away and talk to someone else. You've got the whole day together. Yeah, it's another little example of immediacy. Observing her facial expression when she was talking about it. That's not in her frame of reference because she can't see her own face, so I'm bringing that in. Immediacy is a funny one, especially on a recording like this, because for me to use immediacy would be for me to acknowledge that this has been recorded. This is me to just kind of bring something in from my frame of reference. So it's a tricky thing to do on a recording in any kind of, like, I guess, artificial environment. But those are examples. It just felt like the right thing to do, because it did. It looked like she was in a bit of pain when she was thinking about it, and she's found it quite uncomfortable.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm hoping that something will change. I mean, like, a part of me wants to bring it up to, like, a higher person in work, but the other part of me thinks that, like, they've already tried this. They've already told me the solution is to come in more, and I don't want to do that. I haven't been doing that. So if I went to them more and said, like, well, I think this needs solving, they'll be like, well, you haven't done what we said you do. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, you're worried that they'd put it back on you almost. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like understand. I don't know. I don't particularly like that way of managing. Like, it's very hands off. I've not really experienced many, like, one-to-ones. Like, right. I mean, my manager is very busy all the time, which is fine. Like, they've got lots on their plate. Yeah. But it's like that sort of hands-on approach is great. A hands-off approach is great when, like, I've got a cool projects that I'm running with, and I get to just kind of trusted and with, like, responsibility. I really respect that. But
there's downsides though.
Yeah, there's downsides, which is, like, now I'm trusted to kind of solve this, and I've never been in this scenario before. Yeah. So it's quite difficult.
Yeah, like the hands off, they gave you freedom on the one hand and you felt free to do things, but then actually when they could be more hands on in certain situations where you could do with that, you've kind of felt a bit isolated.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We'll see. I hope it gets better. I think as well, like, the fact that they're there all the time makes me feel, I don't know, I'm probably one of the more flexible workers in the office. Some days I'll go in, like, 3 days, other days I'll go in 2 days, but then I might have, like, an evening thing that I have to do, or, like, I have to go to a different part of the town and do some work, and so it's more ad hoc. I'm not there all the time, whereas a lot of the other people in our office are. When they're there, they're based there. So a part of me feels like, I don't know, that maybe she's going to, like, swing their like sway them, and they'll be like, oh no, actually she is really nice, and Cassie's never here.
Yeah. Like, with her being physically present there all the time, almost you're physically away for quite a bit of the time. You wonder if she can have more influence over time over how other people see you as well.
Yeah. So
I get that.
I'm not sure, but then, like, it's all perpetuating because I don't then want to go into the office more because I know I'll see her, and so then I don't go in more, and then I get worried that I'm not going in enough and people won't see me and, like, be present, and then I'll be the issue, and just go get around.
Yeah, and as someone, I don't know, I'm feeling sad thinking about it, because, like, you were saying how much you enjoy being, like, a people person and getting on with everyone, and just the idea of this one relationship kind of, I want to say, infecting others. I don't know. Like, it's spreading and having an impact on how others are with you. I can see how a little bit of sharing, being congruent, I guess, about my feelings. Like, I did feel sad hearing that, because she started talking about this whole subject, talking about being a people person and, really liking having nice connections with people and getting on with people. And I did feel sad in the moment, just hearing how this one relationship and the difficulties around it are having such an impact on everything, on happiness towards the whole job. Again, though, when sharing feelings like that, it needs to be genuine. It can't be a strategy. I was just listening to myself. I felt myself, feeling quite sad hearing it, and wanted to share that, being congruent, being open about my own process and how I'm experiencing things. Like, that can be a really helpful thing to do, as long as it arises in the moment out of your genuine feelings. It can't be planned for, I think, is the main takeaway. can't be planned for. You can't strategize a way of doing that. It needs to draw from your genuine feelings that come up in you in the moment. Yeah, how uncomfortable that would be for you.
Yeah, I really do, and it's interesting because like my job is very person centric as well. Like I do a lot of stakeholder management between my organisation.
Just another thing about sharing your own feelings as well is yeah, it's congruence in the moment, but it's showing that you are feeling things and you are invested and you do really care. Like to an appropriate level, I'm tuning into her feelings and how she's experiencing things, and I'm feeling things myself in response. And yeah, when that's happening, it's good to show that, and it's good to show that what you're really feeling is what you're showing, that you're not holding back certain thoughts and feelings or analysis or conclusions and things like that. You're as close to fully being with them as possible, and you're as congruent as possible as well.
The organisations, like working with different freelancers, and so I wouldn't say, like when I was thinking about it, I was like, well, I wouldn't be able to do my job unless I was good with people, and I was able to talk to people, and I was able to like manage relationships well. Yeah. So it's disappointing that I guess my manager is trying to turn this into like another element of my job. It almost feels like I'm having to manage someone and getting paid for it. Yeah. But actually, they should just be working like with me and being appropriate, and
yeah, it sounds really difficult, especially with like interacting with people, being a people person, so being such an essential part of the job. It being like, I guess, a relationship at work that's causing such stress. That sounds, it sounds particularly difficult, especially with the management almost ladling that on you.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm hoping in the next few weeks, I'm going to talk to some more people at work in terms of like their perception of what's happening, and maybe gather like not a like backup.
Conscious that I could have asked about like that discomfort. Maybe with a client, I'd be more inclined to do that. I'm wary of asking things that'll stop her in her tracks and wrong footer, mainly because she's acting. But you could ask about the discomfort, about where do you feel it, or what's that like for you? Can we talk about that a bit more and unpack that? Or asking about if they feel it physically, because a lot of people can feel a lot of emotions physically somewhere in the body, whether it's like a heaviness or a tension or what have you. But that can sometimes be quite fruitful. Just asking about the emotions themselves in that way. That's just what's coming up right now, and I didn't do that. I think that is partly to do with it being it being an act, basically.
There's some like, well, actually, if I did want to take it further,
just to explain that there's a certain level of immediacy required to just ask someone, where do you feel that discomfort? I don't know if she's acting, so I don't want to say anything which might be hard for her to come up with, if that makes sense. Because if these things are fictional, then it might be a difficult place to go, and the role play might fall apart. But asking about the discomfort and if they're feeling it physically anywhere can be a thing. If you feel as though they might be responsive to that.
And I've at least got like, well, I'm not the only person that feels this way.
Yeah. Got some reinforcements, or just knowing that other people have experienced it in the same way.
Yeah, I think so. But other than that, it's been a good week.
That does sound really hard. The work stuff. I mean, earlier we were talking about the family stuff, and that feels like in the distance. It's on your mind, but it's not kind of pressing or really kind of I've got to make a decision. But it's like trying to reflect on it and thinking, I'm not sure what the answer is here, and I don't know. This last one feels a lot more pressing and a lot more kind of uncomfortable in the day to day for you.
Yeah, I think as well. Maybe
that's me trying to put together some kind of not narrative. Maybe I guess a narrative just to kind of we're bringing it to a close. There's 5 minutes left, I've seen some way in which, even just as a point of comparison, to bring in both the main themes of the session. And that's mainly what I was doing there, really.
It's like an added thing that I don't want to try and solve. Like, life would just, the work stuff would be so much easier if we just got on and it wasn't this relationship, because it just makes me not want to go into the office, and it makes me, I come home and I'm like, oh, it's been rubbish. And then, but actually, like, I love my job and I love everything that I do in my job. And so actually, this is a really small part that is affecting something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, that sounds really annoying. Like, everything else is really good, but this bit is really bad, and it's kind of bad enough to have an impact on the rest of it, and your enjoyment of the job as a whole, I mean.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to try and figure out, whether some other people can kind of almost back me up, or maybe even just like, what are some like productive ways to get around it, feel like happier, whether even if it's just like when I'm in the office, I'll do like half my working day in that office, and then maybe I find a different space to work in for the other half, or could go to like a cafe for a couple of like hours instead. Maybe just breaking it up might be better.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, so it sounds like there's some things that you can, I don't know, some possible options for you, but it sounds like really frustrating and difficult though. Just let you know, we've got about 5 minutes left, just to give you a heads up.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
It definitely is, and I guess it's interesting
I tend to do
because
that with
I
real
thought,
clients, give them a few minutes heads up. The last few minutes can sometimes be talking about the session itself. Not necessarily though. I won't call it a summary, but that thing I did earlier where I almost weaved, I brought in the previous theme in. I think something like that can sometimes be a good thing, but only if it feels natural. I brought it in then, it just felt right in the moment, but if I hadn't have done that, and if I hadn't have done any summary at the end, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. The summary needs to be genuine. That's the main thing. If you do any kind of summary, it needs to be genuine. A genuine kind of bringing together of your experience of the session so far. It can be quite flippant and glib if you just go, okay, so we talked about this, then this, and now we're talking about this. There we go. When we're talking about someone's real vulnerability and their difficulties, it can be quite trivializing if you're not careful. So I'd only do it if it feels like really natural, and if you're going to do it in an organic, genuine way where you're sharing, your impressions of the session as a whole, is what I'd say.
With like the flexible working stuff, everyone would take the opportunity to do that. And I could only take this job because I can flexible work. Like, it's not feasible for me to go into the office every single day. And actually, like, I don't know if I'd want to. Like, when I'm at home, I get stuff done. I can put the washing on. I can like do little tasks that I don't want to do.
I know that feeling. Mm-hmm.
So I like that side of things, but everyone else seems to go in all the time. So there's part of me that I'm worried that, like, am I missing out on something in the office?
Again, I guess you could call that self-disclosure. I'm not sure if it is, but me saying, I know that feeling. Little things like that, I think, are a way of humanising yourself, of showing that you are not a disembodied head or a person that exists solely in the counselling room. I think that can be quite a nice thing to do sometimes if you do relate to what they're saying. But like I said earlier about her being, a people person, that was also something I related to. But I chose not to share that because that felt a bit too personal. It's always a judgment call what you want to share, but I think sharing some things, it can be quite a good way of humanising yourself and showing that you relate to them, which is always a good thing, I think. As long as it doesn't open up too much stuff for you.
Should I be there all the time? Would that actually help? Like, I know that was the advice of my manager, and I don't want to do it, but maybe there's a part of me that's like, would that help? But I don't think I physically can.
No. I mean, it reminds me, I don't know what to make of this, but I don't know, it reminds me a bit of what you were saying about your family, like almost feeling a bit separate in some ways.
Okay.
I don't think there's any deeper meaning in that. I just kind of, I guess when I was listening to you, it just kind of flashed into my head like, oh, it kind of sounds a bit similar to what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, like on like a micro version, and that's like a macro version, and those are like bigger. Yeah, it's true actually.
I'm not sure what to make of it. That's quite a good observation. I expressed it quite clumsily, but yeah, when she was talking about this sense of otherness or this separation, it did remind me of what we were talking about earlier, and that I think is possibly a helpful observation. What happened there though is I think I became self-conscious of something like that and the impact that an observation like that could have on her. I wouldn't feel like that with a real client, because that's the whole point of the therapy, just to be congruent and to share that. And if it has a real impact, then that's fine, but that's part of the whole process. I became really quite self-conscious about using immediacy in that way and sharing my own process, because I don't know what the impact might be. And with it being recorded and with Sass being an actor, I was conscious of that. So I think I kind of weakened almost the impact of it by just talking about, making it clear that, I don't mean anything by that, and I watered down maybe, what I was trying to say. I think with a real client, I'd be more inclined to really just share, when you were saying that reminded me of this. And I might comment that I'm not drawing any conclusion from that. I'm just being honest about my own process. That can be a really powerful thing to do, but I was particularly self-conscious of that due to the context of this session. I was a bit wary of doing it. Kind of coming to any.
No,
I don't know.
It's interesting. I think as well, like there's similar circles there in terms of like actually, I don't live close to work, and I didn't want to live close to work. I quite like that separation. Yeah. But and I was happy in that decision, but what everyone else is doing makes me like question it. And it's the same like with home. Like I didn't want to stay where my family were, and I wanted to go and do everything else. Yeah. But they and then everyone else has stayed there. Yeah. So it's like their perceptions that make me question that decision as well.
Yeah. You make your decisions. You're happy with that. In isolation, you're quite happy with how you're going about things. But then you look at the way other people have navigated it. It sounds like the majority of other people, at least closest to you, have navigated it, and that kind of gives you pause for thought and think, oh,
maybe I want that. Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's I've always been like quite a unique character and wanted to do things my way. So a part of me is like, actually, I'll just do the things that I want to do, and that's fine. Yeah. And like, I've never seen myself as someone who like conform and do things just because someone else is doing it. Yeah. But then sometimes I think that does lead into like slightly, maybe not isolating, but it does make you stand out a little bit, and you a little bit more susceptible to being like lonely because you're not doing the things that other people are doing.
There's some vulnerability in that, isn't there? Like,
definitely vulnerable. That's the word that I was looking for.
Yeah, because it sounds like, I don't know, that word security that I had up earlier. Like, it sounds like that you wouldn't like that. That'd be boring, or I don't know if that's the word, but it sounds like you wanted to branch out. You wanted to kind of do your own thing, but I guess in doing your own thing, whatever context really. There's some vulnerability in doing that, in branching out, in kind of going off, not literally on your own, but kind of going off in your own direction. There's some kind of vulnerability there, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's like a positive thing, and actually like talking about it's really good, because it's like, it's nice to think, well, I am actually doing all these things that no one else is doing, or they're doing it a bit differently, and that works for my life. Yeah. And I guess just need to stop comparing myself to other people. That's the hardest thing to do.
Just last few seconds now, just so you know. I'm not sure if it's the Immediacy that did that, but it seems as though she's gone on to really quite a deep and almost like general like reflection, like a deep level, just general reflection about, I don't know, individuality and being part of a group, and the freedom that not conforming gives you, but then also the vulnerability of it. I don't know. I'm not. I'll have to watch it back myself. But me making that connection or just observing, like, this reminds me of this. I don't know if that prompted that, but it seems like she's talking about this in a really deep way. And I don't know personally if there's a cookie cutter way of resolving that. I think that's part of life, isn't it? Finding some balance between the two. It's quite existential, really. But I don't know. That's what's coming up for me. I'd have to watch it back and see if my immediacy or that observation I made has prompted this. But that can often be what immediacy does. Just observing your own process and what's coming up for you. I didn't have time to really think through the implications of what I was saying, but it was coming up into my awareness. I decided to share it, albeit in a slightly self-conscious way. And doing that sometimes can have quite a big impact. I'll have to watch back and see if it's my immediacy that prompted that, but I don't know. I mean that's easier said than done, though, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a really tricky one. Cool. So that's it. Last few seconds. We're about at time there. So are you feeling all right to end there? Is that feeling all right for you?
Good to end there. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So I want to say see you next week, 'cause that's what I usually say, but that's not.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.